Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds like a countdown.
Yes. I actually really enjoy that music.
It's nice, huh?
Yeah, it is.
I have many, many skills.
Yes, DJ.
Well, how you doing this evening? It's great to see every one of you. Whether you're watching on Facebook or you're watching on YouTube, Karibu, welcome. Wherever in the world you're watching from, we're so glad you can join us this evening.
Yeah.
Please tell us where you're watching from. Tell us your name, maybe how long you've been married, if you're married. If you're not married, that's all right as well. And just tell us where you're watching from. We'd love to interact with you as we go through the show this evening. And it's really, really great to have every single one of you here.
Yeah, I always look forward to Tuesday. It's actually so exciting.
It is,
I really look forward to Tuesday.
It's like we're inviting all of you to our living
To our
room.
living
So
room.
welcome into our home, every one of you. We are Moradia and Carol Wanjao,
Yeah.
and we do many, many things.
Yes, we are pastors,
Yes.
as our name suggests. We are authors, we're speakers. We're also your marriage coaches. And but between the two of us, he's the theologian and I'm the marriage and family therapist. But you wouldn't tell. He's so good at it.
Well, I'm a quack. I kind of learned
He's
from
so
the window
good
when
at
you're
it.
studying your psychology stuff.
Yeah, it's called studying from the window.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And right now, what we're doing, this show is called Asking for a Friend. And some of you have been watching with us right from the first show, and it's always fun to have you on. And I think Carol's going to be telling us who's watching in a sec. But it's
Yeah.
really great to have you. So asking for a friend, that's what we're doing right now. And it's every Tuesday. It's an opportunity for us to just deal with marriage issues.
Yeah.
And basically, it's just issues that are raised up by our community. I'm going to be talking about the community in a second.
Yeah.
But we do other things as well.
Yeah. Yes. We also run different marriage experiences. The first one being DOA, which may be familiar to some of you. But DOA is a 10-week experience that prepares. DOA really stands for marriage.
Yeah.
It means marriage.
in Swahili,
In
that's
Swahili,
true.
yeah, for those who are not Kenyan. And it's a 10-week program that prepares people who are planning to get married.
Yeah.
Or if you never did a foundation course for your marriage,
DOA is for you.
DOA is for you
You wanna do
as
it.
well. Yeah, if you want to
Yeah.
renew your marriage. And then the second one that we run is called Couples and Money.
Yep.
And this one is an online experience that helps couples build financial intimacy and oneness so they can become everything that God would have them become. In fact, we just concluded this last season a few months ago.
Yeah.
We just concluded our last Couples and Money, and it was interesting to see couples there who had been married for many years but who had never quite worked together. So that's what Couples and Money helps couples
Yeah,
do.
so if you want to have just financial intimacy, that's what we
It's a
call
big
it.
thing.
Some people are intimate in many other ways, but not financially.
Yeah.
And that's what Couples and Money is about. But in addition to that, we have what we call the Ndoa Couples Community. I'm going to be putting up a link. I'm supposed to put up a link. I realize I haven't put it up yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to put it up in a few seconds. And basically what the Ndoa Couples Community is, it's an opportunity for you to connect with couples. Every week we share inspiring content. We share what we call marriage hacks. Where we share just stuff we've learned over the years through mentors, through experience, to help you with your marriage. But in addition to that, we have an opportunity to, like, to the whole day today. We've had a great conversation in
that
asking for a friend.
conversation, yeah.
We have this, we have WhatsApp groups where we just talk about marriage dilemmas and
Yeah.
just hear people's experiences. And people are really real and able to just share what they're going through, but also teach through their experiences. We're learning, by the way, from your experiences.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be putting a link to the Ndoa Couples Community on that. And so we'd love every one of you to join it, wherever you are. This is for you. If you want to just grow in your marriage, you're looking for mentors, we were so blessed to be mentored.
That's the only way we survived
Yeah.
our marriage.
Yeah.
I mean, our
Yeah.
marriage was in trouble by year
Completely.
5. I think we were
Completely.
thinking, I mean, it was just such a miserable space. It was a very painful space. But we thank God that we had mentors who kind of walked with us and helped us, go through the things that we are going through, which is why we're committed to doing this. Just also mentoring people. And we do get quite a number of questions. People say, can you mentor me personally, me and my spouse? And, we're not set up to do that right now, at least a one-on-one. But what we do is that we use these forums. We use this program, Asking for a Friend. We also have that Ndoa community that, Maria here just talked about. And those are the places where we say, you know what? We can mentor you from that space.
Absolutely.
So if you're not part of that community, Ndoa community, go ahead and sign up for it.
Now tell us if you can hear us. Somebody said no sound. So I don't know if you're all hearing. it would be tragic if we're talking to ourselves. I mean, like really, really bad.
Yeah.
So just tell us if you can hear us right now. If you're on Facebook, Katie says no sound. Is it still no sound? We've done like a whole introduction. We've shared some serious secrets of marriage. So if you haven't heard anything, this is really terrible. So just tell us right now. Kathy says no sound. Judy says no sound. So right now on Facebook, I don't think there's any sound. YouTube, are you able to check on your YouTube? Any comments
YouTube,
there?
no, we
So
don't
leave
have
us
any.
comments. Just tell us if you're watching, where you're watching from, and also tell us if there's sound.
Yeah.
It would be so
I'm
tragic
just
if
asking right now if
Yeah,
there is sound
yeah,
so that
let-
we can
check with
correct
YouTube.
that. Yeah.
Can you
I can hear loud and
us?
clear. Yep.
Awesome,
Yes,
thank you.
we have
Okay,
at
at least
least on
YouTube.
Yes.
So let me just check on Facebook.
Yeah. And I can see some regulars here. Revealed Evangelical, welcome. It's always good to see
From
you.
Berlin.
From Berlin. Now, I never know if you're a man or a woman. Would you just tell us if you're a man
That's
or
true,
a woman? I've never known. It just says revealed.
What does it say?
And then Modoni says she can hear Charles. Odok, I can hear you. There's Batha, Okech, there's Munga, Wycliffe, Modoni Wamai, and Laush 100. You're all saying that you can all hear loudly, which is fantastic.
Man, it just seems like there's no sound again on Facebook. What's up with Facebook? There's just like some attack on Facebook or something. Because
Yeah,
YouTube's working perfectly.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure why, because I just saw they say that it's not working on Facebook. We'll just keep working on this. It's terrible. I don't think the devil wants people on Facebook to get saved and to get their marriages saved, but we'll
Yeah.
just keep going.
We'll just keep going.
Yeah,
So
it's going to work. It's going to
so
happen
please
somehow.
sign. Please sign and tell us where you're. At least you can hear, which is fantastic. Let us know where you are tuning in from and how many years that you have been married. That would be fantastic for us to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me see. Looks like okay. I haven't had any confirmation from Facebook yet. Doesn't still seem like it's working. So we'll just keep trying here. I probably just need to get a techie in this
I think
house
so.
next
I think
week
so.
and figure it out. Because last week, remember, we messed up again on Facebook.
Yeah.
Man, this
yeah,
is terrible.
this
Anyway,
is
this is what
terrible.
happens when you start being a mom and pops and you're doing everything for yourselves. So,
No, we'll try to take you next week.
so okay. So
Yeah.
what are we supposed to say next?
High and low.
Okay.
Yeah. So my high
Yeah.
this week,
Yeah.
my high this week is that I got to spend some amazing time with my sisters and my mom.
Yep.
Actually, that happened today. I really did need to to take some time off.
Yeah.
And I guess our home is where everything happens. We're mainly working from home. It is school. And so I felt, I just needed a different space, and so it was really nice, spending time.
Spending
today.
time with your parents. It's interesting, and I'm still trying to figure out this Facebook thing though,
Yeah.
and I'll keep working on it as we talk.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because in the early days of our marriage,
Yeah.
whenever you tell me you needed to go and see your mom
Yes, and my sister.
your sisters, to get encouraged or to get whatever,
Just to have a cup of tea.
to have a cup of tea,
Yeah.
I'd always be so annoyed.
Uh-huh. And what would make you so annoyed?
Like I was insecure.
Okay.
Like I just felt, surely you're married to me.
Yeah.
Why can't I be sufficient for you? Why can't you be secure? Why can't I be the one who just makes you happy? So I used to, whenever you tell me something like you're going to see your mom because you need space,
Yeah.
I'd be like, what is that?
What's
man?
But you're not a girlfriend. You're a husband.
No, it took me time to realize that. By the way, yeah.
You need
And now I'm happy
girlfriends.
because I don't want to be your girlfriend. So,
You can never be a
but I think in the
girlfriend.
early stages of your marriage, that happens a lot, isn't it?
Yeah. I feel, just feel insecure.
Like you feel like you need to be the one who's solving all
Who's
the
solving
problems
all
for
the
your
problems?
spouse. Huh?
Yeah.
So okay, so I'm going to try. I can see there's still no sound on Facebook, so I am going to use the YouTube link. Let's just link it up there.
Okay,
All right, you guys on YouTube, you got there early, and we're pushing the Facebook guys to you. All right.
Okay,
So
great.
my highlight is
What
what?
was your name?
Surely.
Apart
I
from
must have
bees.
had a highlight.
Ah.
What else apart from bees have I done?
Apart from bees.
No, I've really enjoyed kind of nursing you to health.
Mm.
You've not been too well over the last couple of weeks, so
Yeah.
so I guess looking after you.
Oh.
You're such an independent mama, so it's nice having the shoe on the other foot and being the one looking
Yeah.
after you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've
Except
appreciated it.
you've not really been receiving very well. You kind of
Well,
like
really?
today you took off to see your mom, and I was
Well,
clear the whole afternoon to look after you.
I seriously assumed that you were busy. That's why I didn't even ask you.
Yeah. Anyway,
You had a sermon, preaching tomorrow. I was like,
but my bees also. I also
Yeah.
enjoyed my honey. I got I sold 30 bottles of honey this week.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm excited
And
about
it's pure
that.
honey.
And it's
really
great.
good.
And the feedback, that's been the best thing.
Oh, it's
like,
yummy. It's so.
Like
it's
one
like
person
creamy.
said they'll never, like their kids can't eat supermarket honey again after that.
Wow. Yeah.
Because they didn't realize how bad honey
And the
is out
terrible
there.
thing is that it's finished.
Well, there's more coming, so keep it locked.
Keep it locked.
So,
yeah.
so anyway, we want to go into our guests.
Yes, our mystery guest.
Yeah, so you want to introduce them?
Yes, our mystery guest have been married for 15 years,
15 years.
but 16 years in March.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're not babies.
No, they're
They've
not
been
babies.
working at
They
this
have,
for a while.
Yeah, they have good experience.
They have 4 children, and
Yes.
the range of their kids the kids range from 4.
From 16 to 4 years. Oh,
Wow.
did we get
No, it's 16 to 6. I think
to
the youngest
16
is
to
6.
6.
So they've got a huge range. It's like
Yeah.
10 years difference.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do that.
Yeah,
With
but-
4.
But that's fantastic. It means that they have kids in their home for a long time.
Wow. Yeah. Only an older parent would say that.
Only an older parent, yeah.
These kids are about to leave the house.
Yes, and I was just thinking, oh no, they're living. They run a company together, a successful private wealth management and advisory firm.
Yep. They
Yeah.
met in university, and these guys lived and worked abroad for 10 years. Worked with major renowned companies in banking, in investment, in insurance, and they're just a very well accomplished couple. They've done some great things together.
Yeah, and
Actually, we should have them again to talk about working together.
together,
because they've
yes,
done that very well.
they do that very well. But I'm sure they've had a few trouble spots like us. Anyway, that's
project.
for another day. Anyway, both Andor facilitators. They have facilitated our Andor programs, and they have just concluded, taking the couples and money class.
Yeah.
So please let's welcome Alex and Vera Mongai.
All right,
Let's
and I'm kind of
admit
late
them
admitting them here.
in.
All right,
They
let's
are
go.
our
All
mystery
right, there they
guests.
come.
There they
All right,
come.
there
There they
Ooh, what a nice
go.
picture.
They look so nice.
You guys look amazing. I like that picture.
Yeah.
You should get a picture like that.
For another day. Anyway, both Andor facilitators.
How come I can hear you?
Um,
And they have just
Oh,
concluded.
I think we are on your gadget.
So please let
Hi guys. Oh, can they hear us? Oh, that's what there's no sound.
all right.
Okay, that's why there was no sound. All right. Can you hear us now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. I've just realized why there was no sound on Facebook. Oh my gosh, for all the Facebook people, I'm so sorry. I was on mute. I'd actually, that's how simple it is. I'd muted.
I know.
So when
At least-
Kinavera couldn't hear me, I knew there was a problem.
I know, I'm glad.
Is your technology working now? I know earlier it wasn't working.
It's working. It's just that the camera is having a bit of an issue, but we can hear you very well.
Okay.
Okay,
Are you going to
fantastic.
be able to turn it on at any point, or we just stick with your glamorous picture?
We should be able to deal with that shortly.
Okay.
Okay,
Awesome.
very good.
All right. Well, we do need to see your faces because what we want to do is hear your story of how you met.
Yeah.
And for that, facial expressions are everything. I don't want Vera talking and Alex is digging at her and don't share that part.
Yeah.
On your side, Pastor Morita, is it showing the host side? Maybe just try and allow for us to start the camera. Would it work?
Or is it refusing you to start your camera?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
refusing us to start our camera.
Oh wow, that's never
Never
happened.
had that.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Maybe
No.
on the host on the hosting rights. Is it anything to do with the hosting rights? But let me just
Nope. Actually, that
Nothing
never
of course.
happens.
Yeah. Interesting. That's very.
but don't know.
Because
Turn
you
on
should
camera
be able
join
to.
me.
Let's
Okay.
see.
Let's show.
Nope.
Okay,
Nothing.
let's
How about if we
try
make
it
them
right.
co-host?
It won't make a difference.
All right. Okay, let me try and join from a different. Wow.
Gadget, huh? All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is interesting.
Please.
But very well to be on actually, as we sort out that back end.
We're
just
happy
tried
to
to-
have your picture. You guys look lovely, so at least it's a nice picture.
That was not the idea, but let's see whether these settings of.
Okay. Okay.
also
While
another
while
one.
While we're doing
What?
that, we can say to hi to a few more people. We have Karen Milanoi. She's the Milanoi from WhatsApp. Welcome, Karen. There's Dixon Keviranga, who was a regular. And I think if I remember last time, he's been married for 10 years. Huh? I remember because last week I heckled him. So welcome,
Wow,
Dixon.
you've got a good memory.
We have Melvin Mugisha Yani from Kampala. Welcome. Patrick Wamboi. Welcome. The Shiro Kabiru. Welcome. Diane Komunda was a guest with us here a couple of weeks ago. So welcome.
Welcome, Diane.
Then we have Ndaise Kwinga. Is that Daisy?
Daisy.
Daisy. Okay, anyway.
It's a very nice name.
Okay. Then there's Felix Waseba.
Felix and family tuned in.
Welcome.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Karibuni
And
sana.
Facebook is now working for those on Facebook. So
Yeah,
if you prefer Facebook.
Facebook.
So yeah. Wow, you guys look lovely. You look better than the picture. you are holding out. Glad it's
Yeah.
finally working. All right, so we'll dig right into it just to get our audience to know you. And what we do is usually just do what we call rapid fire, where we ask you just some real fast questions. You don't take time to think, you just answer from the gut. And I think Alex looks like he's smiling. Vera is like, what in the world is coming up? But it's going to be very simple. So the first question we always ask is how you met in 1 minute. Starting with Alex now.
It was a God-given scenario. A pastor came and told me there is a girl who's gone to your uni, and I was like, "Why do you need to tell me?" I didn't take it very seriously. I got to uni and kind of forgot about it. And then one day, boom, I bumped into her. She said, "Vera," and something stirred in my heart. And I was like, wow, that's unusual. And yeah, in a few minutes, I told her, for some reason, I think I'm going to marry you. I'm fairly
What?
sure there's something about it.
That
Yeah.
is the craziest story we've had so far.
Oh my goodness.
So-
As in first meeting, that's what you said.
Well, it was a bit later, but I can assure you it was not too far apart. It must have been 1 or 2 meetings.
So, and this was the same girl the pastor had talked about. Did you know that?
At least I'd verified she's the one. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh wow.
Okay, so now we need to hear Vera's
Vera's
take
version.
because I suspect it's a different version from that what we just heard.
Mine is different. We actually met at a club. Imagine that.
At the club.
At a club, at a university party.
Oh,
Afro-Caribbean
An
party.
Afro-Caribbean party. That's what we met.
Uh-huh.
Yes. So there was an introductory party for all the first years that was being held, and that's when I bumped into him. Or rather, there's a mutual friend who introduced us, and that's when at least we got to meet for the first time. Yeah.
He got to meet me for the first time. Me, I'd met her before, like spiritually. Yeah.
So
Good
it's
for
all,
you,
I'm
Vera.
hearing these stories. They're
Yeah.
so different. One has a prophet and Sijui, whatever.
Yeah.
This is how girls get put in a box. You start being
Yes.
told about prophets and Sijui Nini. She's so sober. She's like, we introduced my friend. Keep it down to earth.
Yes. So Vera, what is the first thing Alex would buy if money were absolutely not an issue? What would you buy?
Let me think.
Come on,
A
come on,
car.
say it.
A car.
A car.
Yes, a car. A Nissan Patrol 20.
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
Okay.
I like that.
Then-
From the smile, I think you're right. He looked like he confirmed that. So,
Our big family.
oh yeah, whatever.
Have a big family. Yeah, you can
Actually, you do have 4 kids, so yes, you do have a big family.
And a dog.
Oh,
A big family, a dog. You kind of need a
the
big
patrol
car.
will give you all that space. We'll pray you get it. Alex, what's one thing about you that Vera wishes would change?
Would change. Listen a lot more.
Okay.
She's nodding. She's like,
nodding.
yes.
Wow.
This is what happens after 16 years of marriage. You know each other well.
Yes. The question would be, so why aren't you doing it? Anyway, Vera.
with the right body language, with the right body language.
With the right body language. All
Okay,
right.
not looking down at his phone, his gadget. Vera, what's your favorite memory of your marriage?
I think the
Okay.
Sorry, just speak up a bit.
Move a bit closer to Alex because we
Yeah.
can hear. Yeah, just move
You
a bit
can hear.
closer to
Okay.
Alex.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
better.
that's
I'm
better.
saying traveling together, and I think the birth of our children.
Oh,
Oh, that's so
wow.
memorable. Wow.
Yeah. Mm.
Wow.
I've delivered too.
You delivered too.
Wow.
Wow.
So I think for any young husbands, that's like high pressure. It's like your wife's best memories is you delivering the babies. I'm just thinking of any young husband watching this. Already the stage is set for you. You know the path to success. Alex, what is one thing Vera brings to your life that you would be in trouble if she did not bring it?
She's very sober, and she's an actuarial trained individual. So everything about her is calculated. For me, I see the bigger picture. Her, she sees the detail. I would be in a lot of funk if I didn't listen to her wisdom on some details.
Oh, nice.
Spoken like a wise husband.
Yes, fantastic.
And I think as your friends, we can testify that Vera
Yeah.
does bring detail.
Yeah.
And I thought
And
you
structure to your
and
life.
structure, yes.
Yeah.
We love that.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for just being willing to join us. We're so honored that you could be with us, and you could make time for us in your schedule. We really just wanted to get to spend some time today just talking about marriage, which is what we do on every Tuesday night. And we have a segment on WhatsApp called Asking for a Friend. And during Asking for a Friend, people always send us in questions and dilemmas and issues. And every Tuesday we do that. So the whole day, I mean, the groups have been on fire, people have been sharing, and it's just been amazing reading some of the stuff. And today the topic was how you stayed. What has kept couples from walking out on each other despite the drama and disappointment of marriage? So that's what we've been discussing today. And it's been just interesting to hear their stories. Let me read one for us, just so we can kind of hear what the conversation was like. Somebody said it's been different reasons during different seasons. In the beginning, there were no reasons, just passion. So it's like we just stayed for passion. It's when the babies came that problems came. I expected him to party less. So this is obviously a woman writing this. We never really discussed finances. Then I got a job out of town. So we're in a season of just too many challenges. I did check out at one point completely, but he didn't accept it. I believe we're currently trying to save our relationship, mostly because of the children. And she says that's a season, I guess. That's a reason. And so for them, I mean, it's like, yeah, she's saying different reasons, different seasons. But right now, the one thing that's making them fight for their marriage is their children. So,
Can I interrupt with just some very funny comments?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, somebody made a comment.
On YouTube, there's this guy called Sam Cat, and he says, "Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you." Do you guys remember that song?
Sam, we're going to charge you for using our channel to throw darts at your sweethearts. But that is a very
That's
sweet
a
thing to
very
say, though.
sweet
However,
thing to
yes,
say.
I hope your wife is or your girlfriend is watching, Sam.
Yeah.
Because those are really powerful words.
Yeah. they're
And I hope
very-
you've been married like 15 years to say those words.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Because when you say them at the altar,
Yes.
you'll have many reasons to be tested. Anyway, Alex, let's stay on topic. Sometimes we tend to stray from topic. I don't know if you can relate with what that lady said. You mentioned at one point that you guys, in your first few years of marriage, you were in a bit of funk. Things were a bit rough. And maybe you also at some point thought, my goodness, what did we get ourselves into? Tell us a bit about that story and how that worked.
All right. So, I met this beautiful girl. I knew everything was supposed to work out. As you heard, I even had some divine, intervention.
Leakage.
I know I had divine intervention. So the challenges then were unforeseen to me. Because in uni we were kicking it, we were happy, we traveled, there were no challenges. I mean, Vera tells me she thought we would never argue in our lives because we were really bosom buddies. I mean, you think today we spend a lot of time together. Me and Vera used to spend a lot of time. We used to cook, play, eat, travel, watch movies. I mean, we're like that. Then we got married and it all blew up because I kept, the first year was a nice honeymoon. We got a daughter, everything was nice and hunky-dory. And then obviously the responsibilities of this new setup started checking in. We came in, we are in the country, we had, the child, I had a new job. So, I could see I need to support this family. So two things were conflicting. One, the girl I knew who we used to party is now sitting at home telling me how I need to be home early. And
'Cause she's
I'm
got a
like,
baby.
Kwani this partying became the enemy. We've been partying the whole time. Where is the problem? And she kept complaining, I don't care about her. So first I'm like, I don't care about what? But then you see my mind had not changed to she's now at home with a baby who's keeping her also, and she's looking at me having fun probably, and she's got all these struggles. So there was a bit of a push and shove, and for me, the mind shift was not as immediate for her because also physically she needed to be there to breastfeed and to do all these things. And for me, I'm still this happy-go-lucky, free spirit. So when I come home, then she gives me this baby, take it and you figure what. And you need to know, our daughter is like this. She used to sleep like a rabbit. So she had 1 hour of sleep max at night.
Wow.
So obviously I've come from having a party, work, then I get in the door, she just gives me this crying baby. So, I mean, it was properly stressful and she's complaining. And I used to see things from my side because the picture I'm giving you is from my side.
Yeah.
So now again, from her side, she sees this guy she thought would be caring and would be there for her. He's now, still running around. What is he doing?
How many years is this into your marriage?
I think within the 2 years, first 2 years of our marriage,
So deep drama
very,
going on.
very, very rocky. And also we didn't understand each other characteristically because, I thought I was doing well, trying to work hard. Maybe her love language was also me being present, spending time with her. And you see, this used to happen in uni, but did not happen when we are at home because now we are busy doing our things. So we started, going apart. And also, Vera is very quick to explain her irritations. So, she does not spare a lot of English to explain her displeasure.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of that, and I started thinking, this is the enemy. I mean, like, how did you just become a bitter, wretched woman who just criticizes her husband?
Yeah.
I never thought what I'm doing. I always used to kind of feel what she's doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And I was also not trained to handle conflict. So I obviously was the runner at that point. So we really got into conflict properly until the day she reported me to my folks. And
Wow.
I
It went
just
to the
thought,
folks.
yeah, I was summoned. I was summoned properly. And, by this time, obviously, I was ready to throw in the towel. So even when my mzee asked me, son, what do you want? The lady seems unhappy. I said, I ain't chasing her, but she's impossible to live with. But then, at that meeting, because obviously my parents did not press it down on me, to kind of kick her out, which is good that you have good relations.
So just a sec. Were Vera's parents there, or it was just your parents?
No, it was my parents who were in that meeting.
Okay, so you didn't get to the Vera parent. Okay, that's just...
No.
But again, why probably she had not left me too quickly, maybe she'll say it, is that me and her dad were like this, were tight. So if she went to complain, the guy would be a bit confused, like, I don't see those problems. But yeah, by year 2, going to 3, I mean, I didn't hate her, but I couldn't figure what to do with this person. We can't talk, there's conflict. Obviously, we have a kid, so even the romantic things are kind of a problem now. So the person changed, the situation changed, and I just thought this is not what I signed up for.
Did you
And
feel you had made a mistake at any point? Did you ever feel maybe this was not what I wanted? I made a mistake?
I didn't think it was the wrong girl because I remember asking God that if you give me this girl, I'll love her. So I was not feeling like the girl is I chose the wrong woman, but I could not deal with this. The situation was unfamiliar to me, and I was dealing with something that I had never experienced, and I was very confused. I can tell you, because I love the girl. She's pretty. I'm not complaining about who she is, but I just don't
Just
get
not
her.
working.
Well,
Yeah.
there was a roadblock that I just couldn't get it. I mean, I could blame her and everything, but I could see the problem is not that she hates me, but I couldn't figure what is this she wants. The communication was also very poor on my side.
So Vera, what were your concerns at this time?
Hey, Pastor Carol, let me just tell you, I had never anticipated. You know, you ask why you're getting married and you say for companionship.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for me, it was very clear. Even I told Alex, I'm looking forward to just us spending time together when we get married, just the two of us, at least being together. But now, 2 years on, I was honestly lonely
Yeah.
in marriage.
Yeah.
Very, very lonely. So my company was now my 2-year-old
Yeah.
daughter and an infant. And Monday to Friday, the earliest Alex maybe came home was maybe 10
Wow.
at night. And so I kept wondering every day. And when I complained, it's like he'd extend. Like, before it was 10, night becomes like 11, 12.
You'll have slept.
You know, it's like he was waiting for me to sleep, hoping. So what I would have to do is now, because I'm so annoyed, I would have to wait for him now at 2 a.m. when I finally do turn and I find he's there and I'm furious.
Wow.
I would shake him, to complain because he's not coming early. I would take him, tell him off, and just know that the next day he'll come later.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
Then the
Wow.
weekends, there was the Friday, he hasn't come. Saturday, okay, no, he would come home. At least he'd come home. The best part is that at least he would come home at some point, even if it was later. But you can imagine, so even during the same thing would happen, or he's away on golf tournaments, they're marketing, they're having company events. So there's always something else. So there was now, during the weekends, I would have to go now to different places by myself.
Yeah.
If it was a family function, I would turn up by myself. If it was whatever that was happening, I would always be maybe myself and the children. So it was like two separate lives,
Yeah.
where he has his life, where him and his work.
Yeah.
And when I would complain, he'd say, yeah, but I have to work. I mean, someone has to pay the bills. And yes, I'm also working and paying the bills, but at least I come home early. So, I mean, for me, it didn't make sense. So why is it like every other day you have to be out marketing? But that's where I meet clients. I mean, that's why I meet. How else am I supposed to get business? I do marketing. I'm in sales. So I have to meet and interact. And I'm thinking, according these clients can't be met earlier. Why do you have to meet them at night? So there was all this.
So it's like a
wondering.
perfect storm that's just brewing in the marriage.
Yeah, I mean, it was so frustrating. And then, now, I mean, other things would build up. It was really hard. Honestly, it was very, very tough. And I would wonder, why is he not listening? I mean, I'm so clear. Like, can't you come home earlier, help out, at least we spend time together. But why I wouldn't understand, why wasn't I getting through to him for him to understand this is what I'm trying to say, come home early so that we can spend time together. But it had the reverse effect where he's actually doing the complete opposite and just not responding. So it was just really, really tough.
I know there are people listening to this and they're like, you guys said you've been married 16. How did you get to 16 through that? Because I mean, that just, I suspect as we're speaking, there are couples right now who are in that space.
Yeah.
Just a very, very dramatic, just
very
frictional, painful. I mean, you're smiling. In fact, it's interesting that, Vera, you're speaking as you smile, but the things you're expressing cannot have been smiling issues at that time,
Yeah.
I think I was in tears, constantly crying. I think.
No, maybe I could ask Alex. So it seems that it was very clear what Vera was saying. So what was going on? What were you interpreting? As she expressed herself, what was going on through your mind?
A lot of times, so now we are processing information with a lot of sanity. We are saying it in sane language. At that time, it was definitely not what you are hearing now. It used to come with a lot of color. that maybe I didn't want to process too much of it. It would, how do I put that word? It would erode my persona completely. You know,
Yeah.
when somebody steps on you properly, about short of being told you are useless, because you're not available. So the typical word is you would be useless to me, and you can't even handle being told that by your wife, and completely decapitate you as a person. And okay, so let me put a statement. First of all, Vera was working in marketing at that time and as an actuary, so it's a lot of desk sitting work and talking to internal staff. I'm running, we are setting up a new business for a fund manager, which includes meeting pension funds, canoodling with clients,
Yeah.
which was an external clientele. So you see, you think you're doing the right thing and you're so convinced you're doing the right thing. But when somebody tells you you're doing the wrong thing and in your workplace, your results are like 600%, you're so confused, so you don't know what to believe. I mean, I can see she's bitter and complaining, but the results at work are showing like I'm doing something useful. So I just used to think, what's with this situation? Why is she calling me all these names? But what she was describing is her situation, not my personality.
Yes.
And I needed to differentiate between those two. And until I woke up to that differentiation, I was very confused because I used to wonder, what is she talking about? Did the devil get to her? I hear these people who get possessed, so I checked, and I
So wonder, is my
also
wife
knew in her.
is my wife possessed?
Yeah, I
She's waking
used
me
to
up
think
at 2.
the
She's
devil,
waking me
get
up
away
at 2 in the
from
middle
me.
of the night to shake me and tell me her mind.
Kwanza that one, that one, I could hear. Kwanza she used to breathe like a buffalo, so I could already hear like an hour before. She's the way she's breathing. I know something is coming already. So even me, yani, my toes have twitched. Yani, I'm like in war mode. I have
Okay.
done Wakanda. I'm ready for war. So
Okay.
when
Since
she
we have
just
been
starts
laughing.
talking, Paka morning, we are having a good rant.
I
In the
think we're,
house.
the reason we're laughing is because we know you overcame this. I mean, otherwise it would just be tragic.
a
Huh?
laughing matter.
But let me just say, Carol told me a story. You need to verify whether this story is true. That
Yeah.
you walked into Mavuno Church, and okay, I don't know. Maybe you can correct
It
the
was on a
details
Sunday,
on
yeah.
one Sunday,
Yeah.
and it was going to be in your. I don't know. It was in your mind or both your mind that this was going to be your last service together, and you were done. Just tell us a bit about that. Whether that's verify that story.
Yeah. Yeah. So first of all, that's very, very accurate. We had come for service after some invites from friends, Rina and Wamaida, and everybody had told us about Mavuno. I think we had come once or twice, and on this day we were really. I think being a Sunday, I'm sure Saturday must have erupted some volcano somewhere. So we Sunday, you can't even have a conversation. So even getting to church, it's the only solace we had, that we are going to God. So behave yourself, and so we sat in the service, and I think you and Pastor Sai or someone, there was one of those sermons where you have a conversation up there, one to one, and we listened. It was very, very inspiring. But I'd made up my mind, I'm not going to live like this. I cannot fear my partner, that being with her is becoming a fearful event. I even, part of you even fearing for your life, because you can see she's not happy, and you've watched all these crime movies. You're like a knife stuck on your back, so you are very wary of that scenario. So I was like, no, I can't live like this. I mean, I'm cheating. So on the way out, we and she had sworn many times she wants her way out. On the way out at the tent, at the exit, we were either going to come out, go and discuss. I had told her, we utachukua gari na take the cockroaches, take the curtains, the children, everything. Just go. I can't understand how somebody can live like this. So at the way out, and we were like, okay, this is going to be a discussion of how we are going to split this scenario. We got to the exit, and I remember there had been a talk of Mizizi. So at the door, I procrastinated a bit. Thank God for procrastination, because then I decided, instead of facing this issue head on, let's first find a distraction. And this Mizizi thing looks interesting. Let's just go and find out what it is. And yeah, luckily she's also goodly. So she said, actually, yeah, let's find out what is there to lose. And we went and we started listening to whoever talked about Mizizi. And in there was something about, who do you think God is? A policeman. That story. And we thought, hey, this is interesting. Yeah, so that kind of delayed our decision to press execute button. In going, and we decided, okay, let's try this Mizizi thing. Maybe it's our own understanding. They're concentrating on too much on each other. Let's listen to what this Mizizi thing is. And since we like to do a lot of reading, it also captured our mind and distracted us from an unnecessary fight. And we found ourselves sitting in the Mizizi class, enjoyed it so much. We learned a lot. And then, of course, in between, I think we had a session with Pastor Tony somewhere. And after graduation, and he mentioned about Ndoa and that kind of thing. That's somehow we were in that marathon and found some answers to the challenges that we were finding. But that day was very, very crucial in just deciding, let's forget about us first and just hear about this God guy, and maybe we need to figure him out.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're gonna come back, because I want to hear, Vera, what the turning point was for you. But somebody called Lisa Ann on YouTube said that is exactly what we are going through in my marriage right now. So I think clearly this is not, it's definitely, this is common. And I think that's the one thing, people walk into marriage and they're shocked that there's challenge and there's drama. But I think having done Noah, you teach this to people, that every marriage goes through a season of drama. So Vera, where do you feel the turnaround came? Where do you feel the change came? Because it just sounds like you were in such a difficult position. And not that you were evil. None of you was evil. You both wanted the best, but you were just not getting through to the other person. So what was the turnaround for you?
So I think for me, the turning point, when we met Alex's parents, one of the things that when Alex was asked, because I gave my version of the story on what had been going on, and Alex was asked, okay, fine, so do you want, to remain married, or what do you want? Because really, based on the actions, what do you want? So he said, well, he wanted to stay married. So after that, I kind of took a step back and I was like, you know what? Let me see. It's okay, as I explained, and it was him who really had most of the issues. When I went back home, one of the things that they also told us, actually during that session, you know what? The thing is, it's only the two of you who can make this marriage work. There's nothing that we say or know people out there, even if you call upon how many. Yes, we will listen and we will try and give guidance on what is the right thing that you should do. But even after they had given us all this guidance, they actually said that it was up to the two of us to really make it work. So when I went back home, I reflected and I was like, you know what? Okay, yes, here I was pointing a finger at Alex and thinking he's the one who's bringing all the problems to the home. He's the one who's causing all these issues. But I thought to myself, what was my contribution in this whole situation? Yes, there were all these things he was doing, but what was my contribution? And I really did an introspect and realized that I was also very bitter. I was also very angry. So really the sort of person that he was meeting when he came home was a very, very, very angry person who was really not kind at all. So it made me take a step back. And as we spoke, one of the things that he suggested was that why don't we look for a church that at least we can go to, and or at least what are those things that we can, somewhere that we can at least be able maybe just to, bring the children. We wanted God-fearing children, so at least let's just take them to church somewhere. So we started shopping for a church, different churches. And when we came to now Mavuno that particular Sunday. And he was like, you know what, I think we should really do Mizizi. I think for me, I was like, okay, fine. So clearly there's some sense. There's something in there that at least can. Yes, there's something that at least can bring about a bit of change in our marriage. And when we started doing Mizizi together, I think that the thing that started happening was that before, the marriage was so centered on the children, where it was me and my children. My life revolved all about me and my children. So I had actually sidelined and put Alex away. So through doing Mizizi together, we actually started spending more time and actually, like meeting to discuss maybe the lessons. Initially, it was very stiff and we really didn't have much to talk about. But as we started going for the classes, at least after the class, we would say, okay, fine, let's pass by, maybe have a cup of tea. And we'd look for something maybe to discuss, and at least there was context this time round that was us and what was happening in our marriage. Wow. But at least we'd get an opportunity to talk about what we learned in class or what we think about different issues. So it's like we started rebuilding on our friendship, which really, really helped. And I was happy to actually see that there's something that he had gone out of his way to do. It was like a sign of hope that, you know what, maybe he really does care about us. So by him at least signing us up from Mizizi, that was good. And the fact that at least we are being able to even be in the same car and even go and have tea. It was little signs of hope, like, okay, at least he's trying to spend more time with me as compared to being out there working and spending time with everyone else but myself. So at least there were little signs of hope that gave me encouragement, like, you know what, at least we can do this. Maybe one day at a time. It's not easy, but I think there's things that we can work on. So I think that was a turning point. I think just going through that particular season and rebuilding our friendship, and actually now moving away from where our life was centered on Saturday night or Friday night club. Now at least someone had to come back home earlier so that they're able to make it to church the next day. So, so those are also those sort of things that started bringing around some sort of lifestyle change. That at least now the home became a bit more habitable. I wasn't so bitter, I wasn't so angry. And I think I was also quite a bit kinder. And some signs of hope, I think, from Alex.
I love that. Well, Cara, I'm going to ask you to summarize what you just had. Let me read a comment. Well, first of all, I'll just say, if you're watching this on Facebook, Save a Life or YouTube, link, just get someone, send somebody just a tag and tell them you need to watch this, because I think this is just life-saving stuff. I think we're hearing stuff that is life-saving right now. And then also, what else was I going to say? That's really important. I'm 50 now. I'm beginning to lose my train of thought. It's so important. But by the way, I'm just so inspired by this incredible story.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you said you stopped focusing on the issues, and that you decided to focus on God and something outside of yourselves. And that you also, decided to do, Mizizi together. And that gave you something new to talk about that enabled you to rebuild your relationship. That's fantastic. Now, we had a lady who had posted in the group that we're talking about today, asking for a friend. And the lady right now is saying they're trying to save the relationship mostly because of the children. They meet because of the children. Now, Alex, in your view, is this a legit reason, and what would your encouragement be?
So that happens a lot. The children are, part of the reason you're together is to raise godly children. So that could be a reason, but children require to grow in a harmonious environment. So, and whatever you're doing, the children pick up whatever is wrong in the environment. And today they are very smart about it, but they can always read your mood. When mommy is unhappy, despite how she tries to act, I'll see my son bring her flowers. He has picked up there's something wrong. So the kids are a reason, but it's not their reason to stay married. I mean, the reason to stay married emanates from who created marriage and why did he create it. And therefore you'll find the tools to deal with where the challenges are in the reason why marriage was created and who created it. You've got to, it sounds cliche to say consult the designer for you to know where the problem is. Most times when a car has challenges, you don't just stop and fix and decide we'll go with 3 wheels just to drop the children to school. You kind of figure where the problem is, solve the problem so that you can be delivered whole.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that God cannot fix. Nothing. No infidelity, no financial, no nothing that He can't. But sometimes we are trying to fix it ourselves, and that's why we fix what we can control, which is the children.
Yeah.
We definitely were right for going straight to the lawyers and saying we have irreconcilable differences. Because, I mean, there are differences you can't even understand. You're like, we are not compatible. That word is thrown around like, votes in the US right now. So it's just not useful that you have irreconcilable differences. God knows those reasons.
Yeah.
What is it that cannot be done? So yes, it is good to stay together and fulfill some of the requirements God has, which is raise godly children. But you must remember that also comes with the requirement that you raise them in a home that has love and reflects God.
Yeah.
Now, you being split with your husband or having issues with the husband, I realize is not godly, because God is a unity. Even He works in Trinity. It's always unity with God. So it's unlikely you'll preach to the children or take them to church and tell them to love God while you yourself cannot love your fellow man or cannot solve your issues. And kids, reflect what you're doing, not what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I would even build my marriage even better and fight for it because of the children, to make sure we are relating, not just for the children's sake to pay their fees. Those things can be done when you're separate. Don't cheat. It's just the reason is you need to stay together because you love each other. You need to work on that because that love is the only thing that can translate usefully to the children.
Wow.
Anything else they'll pick up. And,
So I hear what you're saying is, yes, I think children are important, shouldn't disregard that, but it's not enough of a reason.
No.
And I think there's something also you added there about the fact that children actually, if it's really for the children, what's best for the children is parents who are working towards their marriage, as opposed to just standing each other for the sake of the kids. Anything, Vera, you look like you had something to add to that. Do you know something to that, or?
Well,
I guess you were there with your daughter at that point.
Daughters.
And your daughters.
Daughter and son. Yes. Yes. But just to add to what Alex is saying, I think in addition to just being there for the children, what is that work that the two of you should do on yourselves, even for the greater good of, if it's the children, if that's the particular reason that you're staying together. But as Alex is saying, what is that work that the two of you need to do on yourselves, as in terms of to make the marriage work? Because you can't just say, okay, fine, the children are holding us hostage, so I won't do the work. I'll just stay here, stay bitter, stay annoyed. You know what? But let's just stay together. But you're so unhappy. But what are those things that you can actually do together, at least to make that marriage work? What can you try? What sort of resolution? Have you seen somebody, have you consulted? What are those measures that you can do that can make even that children more habitable? I mean, that environment more habitable for the children. So yes, it's a reason, but at least find, if that is your reason, then let it be the motivation for you to work on your marriage by you actually seeing what are the problem areas and what are those things that you need to do to make sure that you've got at least a happier marriage, or at least something that's working. Because at the end of the day, for me, one of the things that I've come to realize, the different seasons that we've had conflict in our marriage, when now we look back, it was actually the greatest opportunities for us to work on the issues that were there existing, either within ourselves or even as a couple. So those opportunities and those seasons of conflict should at least be opportunities for one to really introspect and see, really, what is my contribution and what are the lessons that I need to learn during this season. Initially, it's so hard because every time you tend to look at the other person is the one who's causing the issues.
Yeah.
But even yourself, what are the things that you can do to actually make the marriage better? You know, if each person is working towards at least is working on themselves, then at least you're able to see, okay, fine, you know what, you'll be much better partners. And as I think there's someone who said, like, marriage is your last opportunity to grow up, and many of us refuse to learn the lessons that we need to learn.
Yeah.
And we focus on blaming our partners, but without really taking in the lessons that we need to learn individually for us to become better people, you know, even individually for ourselves and even for the greater good of the marriage. So really, yes, your reason may be the children, but really don't miss out on those opportunities. For what are the lessons? What during this season, what are those things? Is it that we need to communicate better? Is it that I need to humble myself? I mean, just this week we've been having, you know, some very interesting discussions with Alex. And when I look back, I thought, you know what, maybe I need to be kinder or in some way. And I think each person, there's things that you can learn just by the trouble and just by the things that are going on in the marriage. There's lessons that you can learn that can make you a better person. And if each person owns up to what those lessons are, I think at least it makes it better. But I think there's work. For what I have seen over the years, there's a lot of hard work. There's no shortcutting it, because if you try and do the shortcut and say that, you know what, the easier way out is, okay, let's either part ways or let's just put up with one another for the sake of the children. It's like you're trying to shortcut the process. You don't want to do the work, and the work is hard. You know, just looking within yourself sometimes is very hard, and each person, each individual looking within themselves on what should they do for the greater good of their marriage. Is it growing up? Is it some character traits that you really need to adjust on? What is it? Because yes, most of the parenting happens when we are younger, but within the marriage, there's still a lot of growing up and a lot of growing our character that needs to happen. And I think marriage presents that opportunity, because you have a mirror, somebody who's reflecting those things to you directly. You can't hide from them anymore.
Yeah.
They actually are revealed through the feedback that you're getting, and sometimes the feedback doesn't come in the kindest way.
You know what I like? I love what you've said. Marriage is our last chance to grow up. Huh?
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, I'm going to ask you a question, Carol, but you know, one of the things that's staggering for me, it just struck me as you're sharing this, just the way you shared so openly with us, how broken you guys were 2 years into your marriage. And now you're the ones who are speaking such profound wisdom. It's like God, I mean, for me, my thinking is that's the whole show right there. I mean, just somebody watching, I'm just hoping there's somebody watching right now and saying, that will be us one day.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm sure you guys would never have imagined you'd be sitting on a show like this, advising couples across the world and telling them this is how you have a good
Yeah.
I mean, for me, that's just insane how God can turn around your marriage. And now you guys, it's not just here. Over the last 15 years, you've been facilitating Doha. You've been blessing couples. People have looked up to you in your marriage, despite the fact that it's not how well you start. It's what you do with what God gives you, I sense.
Yeah.
And so I just want to really, I'm just in awe. But somebody talked about toxic situations.
Yeah,
huh? How do you do, like, okay, this is all fine and dandy. We can work. I want to work at it. Maybe he's not. What do you do when it's a very toxic situation? I don't know whether you have something to say about that.
Yeah, I think the truth is that we are all fallen human beings, and so we relate in toxic ways. And I think, you know, this is what we've been talking about right now. And for example, when I think about myself, I think I was also critical. I mean, as I hear Vera, I think I was also very critical and very judgmental.
It's probably a temperament thing. I think you guys are males, so
yes. so
males are perfectionists.
Yes, I was critical and I was very demanding, and I don't think, you know, I brought much happiness, you know, to us at that time until I decided to change. And I think for me, you know, I recognized what I was doing, that I'm very critical. I think that was the turning point for me, where I said, honestly, I think, you know, let me change. I think I began to see my own self and to see my own contribution to this whole mess, and not just to point to you. So I think that was my turning point. But maybe I can ask you, you know, how about you? Were there ways in which you were toxic?
Yeah, it's perfect. I'm just hearing all you guys with your issues. I'm like, man, how do people?
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I share this story how I think it was probably like it can't have even been 2 years into our marriage. Remember the time when we went to Emba?
It was probably, yeah, maybe
Because we left after 2 years. So
after
it
2
must
years.
have, so it must have been before 2 years.
Yeah.
And I remember we were at a retreat. Actually, so we're at a mentor couple's house. Like I said, we were fortunate. We always had mentor couples. So we're at this mentor couple's house. We're 3 couples. Some of our best friends were there.
Yeah.
Kina Janet, Kina Marcy, Moya. We're sitting around, and the mentors asked us, so how are you guys doing in your marriages? So guys started going around the circle, and everybody's giving their story. And of course, being the good marketer I am, I'm already shining my story, getting ready for, this is how we're doing. Then as I just started speaking, I don't even know how God's Spirit just
Landed
it's
on
like
you.
all of a sudden I just got a vision of my wife. I saw her in front of me, but instead of seeing the nicely made up, beautiful girl that she was, I saw a broken young lady who was completely shattered, her self-esteem, because of my words and because of my harshness and because of my impatience with her. And it's just like God, like I saw that picture and I opened my mouth to give the nice PR and I just started crying. Like, and me, I was one of those guys who were held together. I went to Patch and all those nice things, the high school to go to. I mean, I had a reputation to maintain, huh? But I just started weeping, like, those ones where it's just like, like weeping, huh? And guys are like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I was just like, I'm a sinner. I've broken this woman. It was such a revelation. I don't think I'd seen it until God showed it to me. For me, I must say it was like a divine revelation.
Yeah.
And I think it was just such a strong pushback from God. It's like, I gave you this beautiful daughter of mine, and look how look what she is now. She's just this bitter, angry, broken woman. And so I think for sure, even that was my turning point, I must say. I think at that point I really had to go back to grips, and I can't say it was even over at that point. I still think it probably took us another maybe 3-4 years to finally get over that hump.
Yeah, it took a while.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like at least I started owning my part of the toxicity. Before, I think I would see that I've been put like Alex. I would be like, why? What? I don't deserve this. But then I finally came to the realization I was playing a part. And I think this is something for couples who are watching, because it's so common for you to look at what your spouse is doing. And I love how Vera was able to own her space and say, look, I'm sure if you're telling your girlfriends, they'd be thinking, what kind of useless man did you marry? How can he be late? How can he not hear you? But then you came to a place where you started realizing, oh my God, there's something I'm doing that is pushing. And it's not to say that he was innocent, but you had an equal part in this. And it always takes two to tango. And I think part of the growth you were talking about, part of that becoming mature, is beginning to understand, I have a part to play in this as well. I need to work on me. We always say, work on me, pray for them.
your spouse.
And
Okay, maybe that's why God answered that prayer. I was praying.
Yeah, maybe it's
And
that
the Holy
prayer of
Spirit
yours.
just landed on you.
That God would help me see how wicked I was. But I think some of the things I'm picking from you guys is, number one, it's important for you, first of all, to just getting into a group. I picked that from your story. The fact that you're in that Mizizi group, you're with other people, you're learning something outside yourselves was very helpful. So I picked that as a tip for a couple watching, that maybe you need to get into Ndoa. Maybe you need to get into something that will help you stop focusing on you and the issue you're in and start learning something from outside yourself. Get mentors, get other people outside you to help you refocus. And then I think another thing that I think is that you need to equip yourselves. Nobody comes into marriage knowing what they should do. We all assume we come in with everything we need because we got the dating thing right, but marriage is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
And so getting into a place where you're learning, I think also is a very big thing I picked. One other one that we picked, that we had early on, despite the drama we went through, because we went through similar drama.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things we picked up from our parents was that the word divorce would never come up. Like we just said, okay, we're in this thing for life.
Yeah.
And I think I told Carol that. I told her I will never divorce you. Like I'm never leaving you. And it doesn't matter what you do. And I think having said those words, I mean, we all say them in the wedding. That's actually what the wedding vows really mean. But saying it in English to her like that meant that when we were in a fix, we had to solve the fix. It's one thing knowing that I don't have a way out. The only way out of this thing is we have to solve it. And I think that also, that perspective
Yeah.
really helped when things were really difficult.
I think too, like Vera was saying, seeing whatever challenges we're going through as an opportunity to grow, as an opportunity
Yeah,
to
yeah, that's good.
it's almost like it's
That's good.
pointing to something about us, and it has nothing to do with your spouse. It has everything to do with
God
you.
is using your spouse to reveal.
Reveal.
Yeah.
And so so seeing the challenges as opportunities to grow in understanding yourself, and also to grow in knowing God.
Yeah.
I think that is definitely something
So profound.
I live with till today, no matter what situation I'm going through.
Yeah.
Well, I think that was we were just talking here about toxicity in relationships, but there's something else that came up today in our group, asking for a friend on WhatsApp, and it was the whole issue of deal breakers.
Yeah, that was
And
big.
this came up several times.
What are the deal breakers that where you say, this one we can't continue?
Yeah. Is it something? And people said, it was infidelity. Infidelity really came up. So maybe I could ask this to Vera. I mean, you guys counsel couples all the time, and are there any deal breakers that you would say to someone? You know what? This is a legitimate reason to walk out. What would you feel are some deal breakers that you tell someone this is legitimate?
Is there ever a time you tell someone, yeah, even me I've had, just go.
Just go. Yeah. And either of you can do it. Yeah, either of you can answer it. Yeah.
I think at the start of our marriage, we had many deal breakers. I think I would have listed like about 10 of them, like, hey, if he cheats, if he, lies, doesn't do this. There were so many of them, honestly.
Wow.
But I think as we have continued and many years later, the one red flag that really for me comes to mind is the one that is life-threatening, which I would say if the person really is physically abusive. That for me, I would say, you know what, I think please seek help, like immediate help on the right parties who would at least be able to ensure that that needs to stop. That needs to stop. That's the one that would come, because I think that would be proper life threatening. I don't know what other one for continuous infidelity. I mean, also sounds a bit risky. I think that's a very risky living right there, because you could catch a disease. So I think it also needs to be dealt with. And this is not to say that, you know what, it's over, leave the marriage, but I'm just saying you need to get immediate help. You need to really seek some help to just make sure that that issue is brought to light to the relevant parties who would be able to guide you appropriately. And I don't know, Alex, maybe add on to that.
Alex, let me just throw a little spanner there. Today in the group, there was a video that was shown, and it was a girl who was going back home. She had decided, I'm going back home. I think her husband was being unfaithful. And she encountered the mom at the door, and the mom was like, go back to your spouse, So Alex.
Oh, and then when she tried to tell the mom, but he's cheating, the mom said, even me I was cheated on. But yes, I stayed for you guys.
I stayed for you guys.
So go back to your husband.
Go back home.
That video is depressing.
Okay,
anyway.
It was, yes. Alex, that is the counsel that is given to women. Okay, now how about what would you tell a man? Is that a deal breaker if the wife is the one who's being unfaithful?
Ooh, that's a twist.
We started with the designer.
Yes.
I don't leave the framework of who's the designer, because that's really where it starts. And as you have rightly pointed out, we are on 300 couples now who we have to counsel and have had through Ndoa and these spaces, and that is so common. That fact, not just as an idea, it is a fact. Even with who and how often and all these things.
Wow.
And you're tempted to think that's it. And then later on, people have patched up and that situation has changed completely. And it is of no consequence to them. But as at the current time, it seems like it's the biggest thing in the world that has happened. It's not that you should live in the mud, but you definitely need to have a serious conversation about it. You need to see a counselor, but you also need to seek God heavily because He can deal with that situation. Now, that is not the kind of statement I would have given you 10 years ago. I would not have even attempted to tell you that God has the answers to that scenario. And actually, you should, remember what you have sacrificed for your family. Sometimes when you're told for better, for worse, it just sounds, most of the words you hear are for better. For worse, you kind of don't even imagine what for worse means. I have scenarios where, that was the case. Somebody was being cheated on heavily, thought of leaving. And later on, they had also their own scenario, but theirs was they were unwell. So the person who used to cheat on you now has to take care of you. So you've checked out medically now, but then they had checked out emotionally.
Wow.
Now, should they also leave now that you also have your own problem? Because medically you have checked out. I mean, you need to be washed and all these other things.
Wow.
So this person who used to be a mess is now your solution. It's not always a given, but
Wow.
I refer back to the model that God gives you. Sometimes He wants you to go through a sacrifice where you have put in a lot for this marriage. And you can pray to Him to solve the situation, because walking out is solving it yourself. Staying and praying is giving God a foothold in your marriage where He can show up and change it.
Wow.
It sounds spirit, but I tell you, we are not going to change the manual. That is the truth. And I would tell anybody 100 times, go back and take care of your marriage, find out. I've told, there's a lot of times guys will come and I will not say that, because we are dealing with many people, in case any one of them is on this chat, it's not your specific one, it's so common. A guy will tell me, what don't I have? Alex, I'm endowed, I have the resources, I have everything. Or somebody else, the chick is like, look at me. I've got it together, and you're short of saying I agree, but God made everybody in His image. He knows, He put so you're like, okay, so what are they getting there that is not here, that is so different? But sometimes it's a test, a very serious test, about Kina Hosea and everybody. So sometimes it's a test, but the best thing you'll have ever done is fought for your marriage on your knees, because unfortunately the way the devil works at that time is to make sure you are fighting your partner so that they even go further away. I'll tell you, even from relating it from another direction, given that I've discovered the way the devil works, is to create something in your partner that definitely gives you a right to leave them. That's the way the devil works. He gives something in your partner. He does something such that you are a right to leave them. And you then leave them without knowing that scenario was actually put in there by the devil himself to make sure you leave, because he cannot touch you, but he can probably influence your partner to do something that signals you kabisa, that you have to walk away and isolate yourself. And then now he can deal with you, because you're going to go into the bottle, all the way to the bottom. You're going to go into everybody else's skirt. You're going to be bitter with God. He'll have dealt you properly. And he's put you in a corner. So you must resist and say, you know what? I'm going to stick here. I told God I'll be here. If this is the life He has chosen for me, as long as I'm not at risk of losing my life, like Vera has said, I'm staying here. You do your madness, find yourself, you'll find me here. I think that's a principle that when I show up and meet St. Peter there, I'll tell him, you know what I had to do, was just admit. Admit me in here. And then let's talk up. Let's move forward. Let's not look at what's happening behind there.
I will say, Alex, that
You're a preacher.
for sure. I mean, but I love. I think your credibility, honestly, to be honest, for me, your credibility comes from your story. Because you're not speaking as guys who have just read the word and now you're giving us the word. You're telling us it worked for us.
Yeah.
We were just as hopeless as anybody else who's listening out there, but now we can actually tell people the manual works. I want to just give you an encouragement, Vera and Alex. Somebody called Constance said, wow, my husband just said, one day that's going to be us. Wow, I wish to connect and meet Vera and Alex because wow, like she's in amazement that, one day we're going to be like these guys, preaching, telling guys about the manual works, even though right now that's not where we are. And I think that's not just for them. I believe everybody watching this show, this is what God wants for you. I love the fact that you've said the enemy wants to destroy you and he wants to destroy your marriage. When he wins, you both lose. There's no winner. But what you're saying is, you know what? When God works his stuff on you and you allow him to do it, then God receives the glory. And right now, as I listen to you guys, God is getting glory because it's clear he's the one who worked in your marriage.
Yeah.
It's not powerful.
That's so powerful.
Yeah.
So how about for you? I'd love to hear your thoughts on infidelity.
Man, this infidelity story, it's a big one. And I'll be honest, I love what Alex has said. Huh? I think for me, and even for what Vera said earlier before that, I actually believe that the manual, as you talk about just the Bible, Jesus had an extremely high view on marriage. And he's the one who, actually his view, when you read the scripture, I'm reading through the Gospels right now, Jesus' view of marriage would actually be politically incorrect. Because he said some pretty tough things. He basically said, according to him, marriage was a covenant, not a contract. We think of marriage as a contract. I signed a paper, and what do you do when you don't like a contract? You void it, and you pay the consequences. But a covenant was for life. There was no way out of a covenant. And what Jesus said basically is God takes that covenant so seriously that if you divorce your wife and marry somebody else, you have committed adultery and you've made that person commit adultery. That is the height of political incorrectness. I wouldn't repeat those words on air today if not the fact that Jesus himself actually said those words. And so this marriage thing is very serious. And so when it comes to this infidelity, Jesus gave what many would see the escape clause. In Matthew chapter 19, verse 9, he says, I say to you, whoever divorces his wife except for immorality and marries another woman commits adultery. So I think a lot of people would say, okay, even Jesus allows it for adultery and for immorality. And for me, what I'd say is there's a preface, because when you read that passage, especially in Mark chapter 10, when he talks about the same thing, he actually says Moses allowed it because of the hardness of your heart. So I don't think it was like Jesus was saying. So first thing you need to understand, Jesus permitted it, but he did not mandate it. He did not command it. And so just the fact that your spouse has been unfaithful to you, you don't walk around saying, God has said I divorced them. Because actually, Jesus says, because of the hardness of your heart, Moses allowed it. But that was never God's intention. So I think the most important thing at that point, I'd say to somebody in that situation, and I want to say it as gently as I can. I don't just want to say the word says, but I understand the bitterness, the pain, the betrayal that you go through in a situation like that. It's unimaginable. You cannot imagine that pain. And so I want to say it as sensitively as I can, that yes, at that point, you really are broken. Your dreams are shattered. It's not what you wanted. It's not what you signed up for. But I believe that God, as Alex says, has a solution even for that problem. If you'll only invite him in and allow him to speak into it, God has a solution for that problem. And it's not the deal breaker that you think it should be if you allow God into it. I think so long as your attitude is, how can we work our way through this serious betrayal? Because that's what it is. How can we work our way through this? Because we're still a we. As opposed to, how do I get out of here? I think as long as your attitude is that, I believe God will give you the resources you need to get through. So I think that would be my big take. Divorce is not infidelity is not the unforgivable sin.
Yeah.
I believe the Holy Spirit, as Alex says, and we know couples, many who've had infidelity, you'd never know meeting them, because today they're life-giving, they're blessing others, they're doing ministry together. It's just that we are pastors, so we know their backstory. But nobody else would ever know such a story. And it's just looking at that and saying, these guys could have given up. Look what the devil would have won.
Yeah.
But now God is receiving the glory because they stayed in there.
Yeah. And I think as we have this conversation, we do realize that those ones who are watching, who are in serious pain. yeah,
There's pain in marriage.
there's pain
right now.
in marriage,
And COVID,
and-
COVID didn't help.
and it doesn't help. And I
Yeah.
want to say that we're really sorry. We're truly sorry that you're going through whatever it is you're going through, and we are not taking it lightly at all. Even as we're giving this counsel, and we don't want to minimize the fact that there are certain toxic levels in a marriage that can be very, very damaging. You know, there are those ones where it can be damaging emotionally, spiritually, where there might even be abuse, physical
Yeah,
abuse.
what Vera was saying.
Yeah, what she was saying. And here's what, because again we were talking about deal breakers. Infidelity was one of them, and the other one was abuse. And here's what we want to say is that I think there are some spouses, some of you who have spouses who have come from very damaged homes. You know, the kind of homes that tear down individuals. You know, the kind of homes that are very toxic, let's just put it that way. Where and they themselves have been torn up and beaten up from where they're coming from, so that the only way that they know how to relate is by hurting others. We normally say that hurting people hurt other people. But I think for us what we always say is, who is the enemy here? What is going on? How do we look at this person, this specific, your spouse? How do we look at them? And for me, I rather look at them as a deeply wounded person. And the more abusive they are, the more I see that they are really broken. And so for some of them, they have no issues belittling their spouses. They have no issues bullying their spouses. Some of them have no issues hitting their spouses and intentionally using, you know, very, very painful words and language. And
even physical violence.
And even
as well.
physical, that's when we talk about emotional, spiritual, and physical violence. And so if you find yourself in this situation, we say that you certainly need to protect yourself from this hurtful behavior. I think there's a lady who said that her husband shouts at her in front of the child, and the child is.
He hit her.
I think he hit her, and the child might be an infant right now or less than a year, and but believe you me, the child catches those vibes. They catch the fear, they catch the violence, they catch the insecurity that situation calls for. And I think there's some things that we can say that you can do for yourself, and some of them even came up in the chat.
Yeah.
Now, the first thing is that imagine, seek counseling for yourself.
Get help.
Get help.
Yeah.
And don't let that shame keep you back, especially when there's physical abuse. People really, it's such a shaming thing. People really find it difficult to come out and say, you know, he is abusing me or she is even abusing me.
And part of the reason I'd say is because it's also your own brokenness. People who are bullies will be attracted to people who
They can
are
bully.
needy.
Yeah.
And so you will even feel guilty reporting your spouse. You'll feel guilty admitting that they're a bad husband or that they hate you. And that's just that codependence. And that's why you need help. You need to actually understand we're both broken. It's not just him who's broken. And I need to get help for myself, and he needs to get help.
Yeah.
And this is where we say, seek counseling. If you can't afford it, go to your church, find your pastor, find somebody, because you cannot walk that journey alone.
Yeah. And through the counseling, if it means separating for a while, I think we do recommend that. But I think it's separation with the idea of reconciliation. It's the separation with the idea of, you know what, you need to go deal with your stuff, you need to go deal with your stuff. We need help separately and also together. And it can be something that you decide. We actually want to have a breather for a couple of months, you know, so that we can work these things out. And it's always in the presence of receiving help from people.
Let me say something about that one, because I think it's easy for someone to run with that one. I think for me, one of the things I always say when that happens is you need mediation.
Yeah.
So it needs to be an agreed on, we're separating for this period, and in this separation we're going to be doing this and this and this with the intention of reconciliation and getting back together. Because I think what I've seen, I remember one of my close friends telling me, I wish we just left each other because we couldn't take it. And we said we both need space.
Yeah.
And it just grew comfortable. And I know so many divorces that started like that. It just grew comfortable, and at some point nobody had the energy, the inertia to bring the thing back again. And eventually they just divorced, and now it's looking back and saying, that was so stupid. I didn't need to leave without any agenda. We need to have a plan and we need to have accountability and people
Yeah.
involved in that separation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
And it's because, and what we're saying is that's when it's not because you're fed up, it's because there's abuse, it's because there's danger to
there's
life.
danger to
Yeah.
life, even if it's emotional well-being.
Yeah.
Then the last one that we're going to say is to pray. God is actually waiting for you to surrender that marriage to God, to Himself. And I think that has come out pretty clearly. I think for both Alex and Vera, that was a strategy that you used to work in your own relationship. And Yani, much as we are calling this the third point, it really should be the first point, prayer. Prayer where you come and say, okay, God, I'm pointing fingers, but there are more fingers pointing back to myself. Show me where my issues are. Show me what I need to do in this relationship. You will be surprised at the solutions that God is going to give you as you surrender that to Him, as you surrender the marriage to Him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, man, guys, this has been so intense. I haven't seen our time fly as fast as it has today. I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, what? It's 4 minutes to go to 9. I can't even believe that time has flown so fast. You guys are fascinating. You're both incredible.
Yeah.
By the way, you have I hope you know your ministry is just beginning. You've only impacted 300 couples. You have many more to impact.
Yeah.
And we love the fact that God is using you through Noah to bless couples. Today, you've inspired quite a few couples, I know. And I'm actually going to ask you guys to say a prayer. So please decide among yourselves. You can use your couple language. After 16 years, I know you know who's going to pray. It has been decided.
It has been decided.
So we're going to ask you to actually just pray for the couples, because I know as we speak, and I know you know that, because you encounter couples all the time. There are people who are in deep pain right now listening to this.
Yeah.
But I also pray that there's somebody with deep hope today.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't come into this conversation with hope. They came in just to hear, but they're leaving with hope. As they're watching Alex and Vera, they're saying that could be us one day. And I'm hoping they're also saying, yeah, if Moravi and Carol could be in such despair, look at them. That's going to be us one day. God is going to use us to bless others. And by the way, in the middle of our difficult times, I knew that. I just had this sense that God is actually going to use us one day. And that's why the devil doesn't want us to succeed. We're going to help so many couples once we get back on our feet. And so I really, really want to ask you to pray. For those who are watching, please join our Ndoa community. You can see the link on Facebook, on WhatsApp. On YouTube. It'll take you to our WhatsApp thingy, and you'll just join the WhatsApp group. And it's a great place, like I said earlier, for you to just get inspiring stuff. Every week we share something, and it's just something that will help you grow in your marriage. We have a passion to help you. And our passion is not just to help you grow. Our passion is to help you become like Alex and Vera. Our passion is to help you help other couples. Because that's the whole idea, And I think Alex and Vera, you can probably testify. Your marriage has grown better as you've helped other couples through Ndoa. Because that's one of the best ways is, as you pour out into others. I know we find our marriage every time we do this. It just helps us grow. And so really want to encourage every couple out here. We want to help you. So join that community, and we're going to walk the journey together. So like our channel, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube as well. And so you can just be getting, whenever we put up our hacks, you'll know exactly when they're there, the marriage hacks, and you'll be able to get onto them. So Alex, I guess you're the priest here. You've been nominated. Please speak a blessing over the couples who are watching.
Even as Alex speaks praise, I just want to say that I've seen many marriages that are suffering because of just doing marriage in isolation. Please just put yourselves in that environment, as you're saying, in the Ndoa environment, and any other that really does support
I love that. Thank
marriage.
You. Thank you.
Okay. So, right, we'll just give thanks. Lord, we remember this minute when you have given us a time to reflect on that ministry that you have depended on to build a strong community called marriage. We thank you for you also exist in a family, and you have modeled how we should live as a family. As a father, you have modeled how your children will be taken care of. And Lord, even the patience with which you have dealt with each one of us in the various sinful states that we have found ourselves. But Lord, you have patiently looked upon us to let us grow so that we would be convicted about your mercies, that we would be convinced about your love, that Lord, even when we look at when we were lost, you had no animosity against us, you just had love towards us. Lord, these are situations that for us as human beings, full of lack of knowledge sometimes, lack of a good role model, we have lost humility and beaten our chests at certain times and thought that indeed we are here to command and to lead and to make all these other decisions that we have been convinced that a strong person should display. But Lord, we ask that we would look at our families with a lot of mercy, that as a husband, I should be the representative of God in my wife's life, and I should treat her in the way that God would want me to treat her. Not just commanding and shouting and expecting, but also giving her the love and attention and all the praises that indeed she is a daughter of God and I should take care of her and remind her that God loves her. And also to remind my wife that indeed she is your representative in my life, to care and, Lord, to be able to inspire and to even hold the breath of the Holy Spirit, to speak into my spirit, be able to provide for the children and to build each other. Lord, these are the things that you build a husband and wife for, so that they would bring up then children who are godly, because they see the love between their parents. But Lord, we know these may not have been circumstances that were displayed by probably our parents. And the copy that we come with is sometimes a tattered copy, which we pass on to those who have come with great expectation. But because, Lord, you are the designer, our default should be to look at the designer's work and to use that copy, to come closer to you, to pray to you. And we know people who have prayed for years in order for their marriages to be saved, and Lord, you have responded. We thank you, Lord, for even this session that has been put together for us to be reminded of how to deal with the various challenges that come up. Lord, we have learned, as myself and Vera, through great humility as to how to relate with each one. And even when we look forward, we know there will be challenges, and we pray and cry out to you, Lord, that you would continue to hold us firm, because we know the challenges are very many and in varied ways. They come through the business, they come through the children, they come through even our words and all these opportunities for communication which just turn sour. We pray that, Lord, you would hold our mouths when we are about to say something that would not build each other's spirit. We thank you even for the environment that you have put us in. We thank you for Pastor Mureithi and Pastor Carol, having given them the inspiration, Lord, to talk to couples. And even when they put us here to talk, Lord, it is with such great humility, because we know the great things they have done and the great things that you are going to do through them. And with all the people, Lord, who are available today to listen to the very little that we have to share, that, Lord, you'd bless each one of their marriages for the sake of your kingdom. That, Lord, the words that left your mouth would not be falling onto deaf ears, that those who listen to you will receive your blessing. And Lord, we know their challenges. Indeed, we know their challenges, because the devil will not give us peace. But we know with your spirit we can fight back. It is a shield, and we know that, Lord, you will defend us in every attack that the enemy will send our way. Lord, when we succeed, the community succeeds. When marriages succeed, healthy children, healthy, God-loving, God-fearing children will be born, and we will change a generation one at a time. So we thank you, Lord, that even as this narrative of marriage is changed, it's not just by the will to say that, Lord, Christian marriages work and marriages work. It is not just a show, Lord. It is one generation you're winning at a time. And we are willing to be in your to be soldiers in your army. to keep talking about what we have seen. We know the challenges we have gone through, deep, hurtful situations where we did not know how we get out of the conflict. We did not know how to change our words, and we looked at each other with bitterness and in a lot of confusion because, Lord, when you introduced us to each other, we were so full of love. And therein, the devil walked in and created so much conflict. And we are thankful, Lord, that you have picked us from the bottom of hell and brought us to a point where we can say that indeed love in marriage works. So we know that, Lord, you will do the same for many who are listening, and you will do it because you love them, not because we are good people or that we are deserving, but purely because, Lord, you want to show who you are. So show yourself, Lord. Provide all the resources necessary. Open our eyes to see that indeed it is just a stretch of your arm, stretch of our hands to receive your blessing of a great and fruitful marriage. So we thank you, Lord, for all these things. We thank you for who you are. We thank you for the resources that you have provided through the church, through Pastor Morethi, and all the mediums that you have put together so that your word can get to that one person or that couple that, Lord, you want to hear this today. We know you're great and mighty and have always got a design in all that you do. We thank you for who you are. We adore you and we love you. For this we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Awesome. Thank you so much. This has been amazing. We really appreciate your time, Alex and Vera.
Yeah.
You guys are just so good. So thank you. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate that you just accepted our invitation. And my goodness, it was definitely God's plan that you're here today. The stuff you've shared has been life-giving. And many people, have just talked about the fact that they have been blessed in the comments here. So thank you. For all of you who are watching, thank you for bearing with us, for listening, for taking notes, for just allowing God to shape your marriages through this. Let's keep talking. Let's keep the conversation alive. Join the Door community. I would love to just walking this journey together. And yeah, until
That's
next
it.
time.
Until next week.
Until next week.
Yeah, next week we will be discussing kneel by mouth.
Oh, that's what we're discussing.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Nice.
kneel by mouth.
So I better be nice this week.
Yes.
All right. Okay, guys. Good night, everybody.
All right.
Love you and have a
Good
good night
night.
and see you next week.
Good night.
Thank you, Alex
All
and
right.
Vera.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
All right. Bye-bye.